after a shocking loss, the Eagles return to Philadelphia and embark on a 7-game gauntlet. We'll be talking with Sal Paolantonio in depth about Eagles Dolphins. Sean Green on why the unders are dominating. Justin Bruni has your Buy-Mageddon subs and guys to dust off your bench. And we'll wrap it up with Gary Myers on quarterback play and Roger Goodell. That's all next on a Week 7 edition of This Week in Pro Football.
It's time for This Week in Pro Football, a deep dive into the key issues and marquee matchups in the National Football League. For the next 60 minutes, we invite you to sit back or lean in with host Pat Callahan as we preview the week's Eagles matchup, big games, breaking stories, and all news NFL. It's This Week in Pro Football, right now on JAKIB Media Sports.
Hello, everybody. Pat Callahan joining you week number 7 of the National Football League here on JAKIB Sports. This Week in Pro Football. Thank you very much for sitting down with me and the usual suspects who will be lining up in the next 75 minutes as we talk about week number 7 in the NFL. And it's Buy-Mageddon week. I don't have any idea why the NFL does what it does. To me, it's so obvious how they should schedule the buys. I've talked about this before on this show and on my radio show from before. But why the NFL some weeks schedules 2 teams on a bye, other weeks schedules 6 teams on a bye, and there's no rhyme nor reason as to how they schedule the buys, meaning I think they should do it just by division. Just give each division a week off, and then the following Thursday feature a game on Amazon between 2 of those teams from the division had the week off. Those teams then get 2 mini buys instead of 1 bye. Yeah, instead, you get a situation where the Rams, for 2 weeks in a row, will play a team coming off a bye. They play Pittsburgh this week, coming off the bye the Steelers had last week. Next week, the Rams have to go to Dallas to play the Cowboys, and lo and behold, the Cowboys coming off a bye. It's ridiculous. But who can explain it? Maybe Sal Paolantonio can. We can check with him if we have the time. But I got a lot to go through with Sal, who will be in South Philadelphia Sunday night for Eagles and Dolphins. As I mentioned, Sean Green will join us at the bottom of this hour to talk about the unders are dominating. And is it because of good defense or is it because of quarterback play? We'll circle back with Gary Myers on the latter. And then Justin Bruni in about 45 minutes. We'll talk about Buy-Mageddon and who should be coming off your bench to sub in for some key players on teams like Cincinnati and Dallas that are sitting it out this week. All right, give me a follow, please, at TWIPF Pat on X, and you can follow the network here at JAKIB Sports on the same platform. So, all right, let's get started here. Xander, we'll talk about the Week 6 standings after another week of the National Football League. I'm going to be asking Sal about some pretenders and contenders. You look at those Detroit Lions now sitting at 5-1, along with Philadelphia and San Francisco, the 3, I guess, top teams. That's certainly the top tier in the NFC. Try and talk about Detroit a little bit. They're a franchise that's flown under the radar for decades because they haven't been any good. But 3 straight decades of top 5 picks appear finally to have manifested on the Lions roster. Detroit 5-1 and playing good football. Philadelphia coming off that unbelievable loss to the Jets. But look, teams have bad weeks. The Eagles weren't going to go 17-0. Now, look, did anyone think they were going to lose to the Jets without their top 3 defensive backs? No. But it just happens. Jalen Hurts had a bad day, and that pick at the end of the game obviously was the killer. You could question that, too, as to whether the Eagles just should have run the ball, punted deep, and told Zach Wilson to go 90 yards for the score, or at least 60 to 65 yards to kick a field goal. Didn't happen. Jets won. Dallas barely ekes out a win Monday night against the LA Chargers. I'm still not sold on Dallas, not at all. I'm going to be asking Sal about them too. Cowboys win 20-17 because the LA Chargers, one thing's for sure. If you told the LA Chargers, listen, there's going to be a 3-point game tonight, one team's going to win by 3, the Chargers will know that they're the team that's losing. The Chargers do not know how to win close games, and there you have it. In the AFC, talking about the Chargers already falling to 2-3, Kansas City 5-1, Miami 5-1, Buffalo at 4-2. How about the trouble Buffalo had Sunday night with the New York Giants? I mean, the Giants really should have won that game. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. They didn't do it. But the Giants, I thought, gave a hell of an effort and really caught the Bills by surprise. And if not for some just absolutely god-awful red zone play inside the 5-yard line on 2 different occasions, the Giants would have walked away with an equally stunning victory for a New York team alongside those Jets. All right, that's the standings look going into this weekend. Let's take a look, Xander, at that schedule for Week 7. As I mentioned, you get 6 teams on a bye, so it's a limited menu right now. Jaguars Saints on Thursday night. I'm not sure that's a great one. Derek Carr quarterbacking the Saints. They're wearing their all-black uniforms. That's a guarantee of a 13-10 game right there. Lions-Ravens, a good game Sunday to lead things off on Fox. We'll see. That's a tough spot for the Lions to go in on the road. Ravens always play you tough. The question is, will they have enough offense to do it? Other notable games, the Bills going into New England. I'm sorry, I just don't buy it. New England, hey, they'll play it tough defensively, but I don't see how that offense has any chance of outscoring Buffalo. But, as I said, no one thought the Giants had the chance of beating Buffalo too, but I just don't see Buffalo playing 2 desultory games in a row. NFC East, now you got the Giants hosting the Commanders. The Giants, in their 2 home games so far this year, have lost 40-0. And what was the other one? I think they lost 31-3 or something like that. So they've been outscored like 71-3 in their 2 games at home. Giants owe their fans a little something. I think they'll play very hard on Sunday against a suspect, in my opinion, Commanders team. The Steelers at the Rams. Steelers 3-2 at the Rams 3-3. That's going to be a good game. That's a toss-up game there. A home game for the Steelers out in Los Angeles. But that's going to be a good one. And the winner of that game will have a leg up in the wild card race in their respective conference. The Chargers go to Kansas City, no chance there. And then, of course, Sunday night, Miami here at Philadelphia. Sal Paolantonio was just explaining how the Dolphins, he said he's seen many a team come into Philadelphia, especially for a night game, a Sunday or a Monday night game. And by the time that game starts, all they want to do is get the hell on the bus to the airport. This could be one of those games. We're going to talk in depth about the Dolphins and how they got to 5-1. Monday night, San Francisco is at Minnesota. I don't think the Vikings have much of a chance there at all. San Francisco coming off an equally shocking loss to the Cleveland Browns. P.J. Walker, former Temple man, leading the Browns to victory last Sunday. All right, Xander, thank you very much. Why don't we bring this gentleman up right now, bring in the host of the NFL Matchup Show, ESPN senior correspondent, and, of course, an NFL game analyst who will be in South Philadelphia Sunday. Sal Paolantonio, how you doing?
Pat, Week 7, Pat. Here we go. Let's do it. Let's get right to it. A lot of stuff going on in the NFL right now. A lot of groundbreaking stuff, Pat.
All right. Well, look, Sal, if you don't mind, I want to let's look back just a little bit relative to. And I'm only doing this, Sal, because you and I were very effusive in our praise of Jalen Hurts last week. I haven't changed my thoughts, and knowing you, I don't think you have either. But just give a quick take on where that subpar game came from, and do you think it's just a one-off for Jalen Hurts?
I think it was the confluence of factors that were literally a perfect storm. You had a defense that not given up one second-half touchdown all year long. They have very active linebackers, a good pass rush with 4 down linemen in their secondary. Even though it was depleted, they play in a scheme and they do a good job, and the Eagles receivers just weren't getting open in certain circumstances. But the number one thing, when you look at Jalen Hurts, that has to be fixed, and I'm sure the coaching staff was working on that with him this week, is his snap to release is the second slowest in the NFL.
Okay.
Russell Wilson is the slowest. Okay. Notoriously sacked quarterback, Russell Wilson.
Right.
Jalen Hurts is the second slowest. Tua is the fastest snap to release.
Yep. How about that?
So Jalen Hurts is holding on to the ball too long. Yep. So you look at, he's got 7 interceptions. That's 1 more than he had last year. And then according to Next Gen Stats and our film study, 5 of the 7 have come when he has not been under duress, Pat.
All right.
Not under duress. So he's holding the ball too long, not seeing what's open underneath, and throwing it into coverages. And that's got to be fixed.
Yep. That's great information, Sal. I really do appreciate that. I want to bring up this screen right now, Xander, if you could do it. Because, Sal, you hear a lot of talk about he doesn't look the same as he did last year. Now, you look at these stats in which I'm comparing the first 6 games of 2023 to the first 6 games of last year. And in my opinion, Sal, they're almost identical, except for one notable thing that you just brought up. The stats are very close. 7 picks this year versus 2 last year. That is the difference in where Jalen Hurts has been. And it's exactly what you just said, I guess, because, and also you notice he's been sacked 14 times. Tua, the example you brought up, only sacked 6 times. And I guess you're right. That's probably why, right? Because Hurts is holding on to that ball that extra couple of beats.
Now keep that graphic up. I want to show you one other major difference. The number of attempts, pass attempts, 186 in 2022, right. 2023, 213. So that's a significant difference. That's a difference of 5 per game, 6 per game, right? So if you put the ball in his hands more now, you're going to get more mistakes. So they are throwing the ball way more, Pat, on first down than they did last year. Yeah. It's way, way up on first down. So the significance of pass attempts overall is major, but on first down, it's really major. Yeah. So when you're making mistakes and you're throwing it on first down, you're getting behind the sticks and you're looking for the big play to get yourself out of trouble. Right. It has a domino effect, Pat. And then you start to throw interceptions. Remember, 5 of his 7 interceptions have come when he's not under duress.
All right. And that does speak to it. And it's further puzzling, Sal, when you think about it. The Eagles have such a terrific run game. Why all of a sudden now are you accenting the pass more, particularly on first down?
Yep, 22 carries against the Jets. I realize you're not with Cam Jurgens, but, his replacement, Opeta, has been pretty good. Not great, but good. And then Lane Johnson goes down in the first quarter. They were really never trailing in the game. Right. That was a game where they needed to run, and Hurts needed to run more than he did. And, I think they will adjust. Am I concerned? No, because I think this coaching staff and this quarterback, both the quarterback and the coaching staff, are very good at adjusting, admitting their mistakes, being self-critical, self-scouting, and I think they will correct it. I don't know why you bring in Julio Jones. I don't know how that really affects things. He, he's a big body. Yeah. He's a reliable guy with hands. Yeah. Is he an upgrade over Quez Watkins at the age that he is? 34 years old? I'm not sure, but we'll see.
Yeah, I wasn't. I'm kind of agnostic about that pick too. We'll see. I'd rather they got us, just get a burner who can run the ball down the field and drag a safety.
Yeah, you can't find those, Pat. I would rather them find. I wanted them to sign Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
They need a back more than they need a wide receiver, in my view.
All right, listen, we get back with Sal Paolantonio. We're going to take a deeper dive. I'm going to get Sal's take on who the Miami Dolphins really are. We're going to look at some coaching hot seats, and I'm going to hit Sal for some pretenders or contenders. We're going to do that all right now or next on This Week in Pro Football.
Celebrate your victories in style at Spring Mill Country Club. From Eagles wins to baby showers, weddings to birthdays, our picturesque venue is ready to host your special events. Make memories that last a lifetime in our stunning surroundings. Call Spring Mill today at 215-675-6000 and elevate your next event to unforgettable heights. Contact us now to book 215-675-6000.
John Kennedy Ford. Their reputation sounded too good to be true, so my partner and I decided to do a little digging.
They know we can see them, right?
We could get them a great deal if they just come inside.
made us. Run! Uncovering a better car buying experience is easy at John Kennedy Ford. Enjoy your ride.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
Hi, welcome back here to This Week in Pro Football. Pat Callahan joining you. This Week in Pro Football presented by Kennedy Ford. Let's bring Sal Paolantonio back in, host of the NFL Matchup Show, ESPN senior correspondent. Sal will be in South Philadelphia. Xander, what did we do? Did we lose Sal? All right, well, we're working to bring Sal back, I guess, bring him in. One of the things we want to talk with Sal about is we're waiting to stand by with Sal. The Miami Dolphins. Miami is 5-1, and yes, they're taking selfies. They're taking Tyreek Hill is taking selfies while he flips in the end zone. That's all well and good. That's terrific. But they haven't exactly had a murderer's row of victories. There are 5 wins so far this year against the LA Chargers, New England, Denver, the New York Giants, and the Carolina Panthers. As Sal pointed out to me, a 5-24 combined record for those teams. So, I mean, that is hardly something that you're going to ride all the way to the Super Bowl on by beating teams like that. This is a major step up in class for Miami. The one time they've done it so far this year, they lost. They lost to the Buffalo Bills. So that was a road game against Buffalo. This is a road game too. So you got to give them some benefit of the doubt. They're not in South Florida, but still, this is not going to be an easy game for Miami, especially catching the Eagles off a loss. Sal Pao is right, and he has diagnosed that issue with Jalen Hurts. Then I would think the Eagles' brain trust has done the same. And as studious a guy as Hurts is, I can't believe he's not going to work that out as hard as he can and try and get that problem fixed. But really, I think the Eagles are just going to have to run the ball here. I mean, this is a game where they should concentrate on running the ball against Miami. Miami's run defense, I hope to get this, we get Sal back in here. We could talk about that. Their run defense, not a top 10 rush defense. Now, to some extent, again, you can make the case teams don't run the ball that much against Miami because they're always behind. But that way, you would think that Miami's run defense would be better than the league average. It is not. So something to keep in mind, too, for Sunday night's game. It's just going to be a hostile atmosphere in South Philadelphia, as the Arizona – the Diamondbacks found out. That's not an easy place to play, South Philadelphia. All right, we're going to bring Sal Pao back in here. Sal, thanks for rejoining us. I was just telling our viewers about you pointed out Miami 5-24 overall record against the 5 teams they have beaten. The other thing I want you to comment on is Miami's rush defense is only 20th in the league at 115 yards per game. Give me your thoughts on that and whether that obviously should be the Eagles' focus on Sunday night.
Yeah, it screams running the football, Pat. They only had 22 carries against the Jets. They're not very successful now with their RPO game. That may be a function of the fact that Jalen Hurts is the most blitzed quarterback in the National Football League. Teams are blitzing him on rundowns and on passing downs. He's blitzed 40% of the time. Yeah. They are focusing on Jalen Hurts as a ball carrier.
Yeah.
And so it's up to Jalen Hurts to use the decoy of the run-pass option or the zone read to make sure that he gets the ball out of his hands quickly to DeAndre Swift. This is something that's timing that has nothing to do with Brian Johnson. It has everything to do. You have a new running back, DeAndre Swift. When you change running backs, like they did, it's going to take time to develop that kind of chemistry, but you have to stay with it, obviously, and they know that. They know that going into this game, it'll be about running the football and trying to get ahead of Miami and keep that Miami. It's a track meet. Miami makes you defend every blade of grass.
Right.
That's what they do. They have 7 touchdowns scored from the line of scrimmage of 40-plus yards. 7. That's tied for second most of any team going into Week 7, Pat, since the 1970 merger. That's a long time, Pat.
Yeah.
By my count, that's 53 years of football.
A lot of football.
So they are doing something really right. So the Eagles preach each week. Sean Desai, whoever it was, Vic Fangio was the consultant last year, and now the defensive coordinator of Miami. Jim Johnson when he was here. Jonathan Gannon when he was here under Sirianni. Jim Schwartz. The Eagles have been preaching for a generation, don't give up the big play.
Right.
Break down the protection, but protect the house on the back end.
Right.
The Eagles are not going to play press man coverage on Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They'll get obliterated. They'll be in a track meet they can't win.
Right.
You have to play zone defense.
Right.
You have to have safety help over the top. And you have to hope that the rush gets to Tua. The rush can get to Tua. I'm very interested to see if Jalen Carter can play and to what extent he will play in this game, how many snaps, how effective he will be, because Tua has always been susceptible in his career to a pass rush in his face.
Okay. And I was just going to mention that to you is the onus on the Eagle defense to be, is it the pass rush to get to Tua, who has some gaudy stats, Sal. In addition to only being sacked 6 times, 71% completion percentage, 9.5 yards per attempt. He's way ahead of the rest of the league on that. 14 touchdowns, tied for the league lead. Is the onus to get to him via the pass rush as opposed to Max? You mentioned zone coverage, maybe even doubling Tyreek Hill in the secondary.
No, I think it's, you have to make sure you're not giving up the big play and hope that the pass rush gets home in time. Pat, I like those stats, but the game is about matchups. You played Carolina, the Giants, the Broncos, the Patriots. Pat, these are all the dysfunctional bottom feeders right now in the NFL.
Right.
I can't stress that enough.
No, I'm with you. And it's like you mentioned, Sal, now they're coming to South Philadelphia on a Sunday night and a big step up in class where they've only done it once so far this season against Buffalo and lost.
Yeah, they got boat raced by the Buffalo Bills. So listen, and they're getting frosty down there in Miami about this. If you listen or watch or read Mike McDaniel, his press conferences, he has not liked the line of questioning that has gone on. I mean, he's gotten very testy about it. Hey, we're a good team. We're doing things that nobody else has done. Yeah, but if you're doing it against the Pats and the Panthers and the Giants and the Broncos, I mean, literally all those teams are going to have a top 10 pick in the draft, Pat.
Right. It's absolutely fair. Absolutely fair.
It's a fair point. It's a very fair point.
All right, listen, Sal Pal, let's get around the league here. I got about 4 minutes left with you. Some quick hits here.
Pat, if you want me to stay, we lost the internet. I can stay after the next break if you want me to.
No, I appreciate that very much. Well, I'll squeeze a couple more minutes out of you then. All right, I appreciate that very much. Thanks. How about pretenders?
I don't want to take any of Gary Myers or Sean Green, but both of them are my friends, and I don't want to shortchange you.
I do. Thank you very much. You never shortchanged me at all. How about some pretenders and contenders here, Sal Pal? Let me hit you with 3 team names, and you tell me thumbs up or thumbs down on them right now. The Detroit Lions sit at 5-1 and are still, Sal, are one of the most anonymous teams in the NFL. They're never on national TV. The only time was opening night. They actually beat Kansas City. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Are you a believer in the Detroit Lions at this point?
I'm a total believer in the Detroit Lions. I watched them on film, and they do everything right. They attack the quarterback, and they protect their quarterback. The number one statistic in the NFL right now is pass block win rate. It's down. It's down to the point where it's the lowest it's been since they started doing that metric in 2016. That's why right now, NFL teams, and this is the reason why the under is paying off big, and I'm sure Sean Green's going to go into this.
I was going to say that. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
Yep. The teams are scoring 21.7 points per game per team in 2023 going into week 7.
Right.
That's the lowest in a season in 15 years. That's not nothing.
There you go.
And the reason is pass protection. And pass protection directly leads to QBR for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
QBR for quarterbacks is at a 20-year low, Pat. 20-year.
It's funny, Sal, you mentioned that because the knee-jerk reaction, and I'm guilty of it, is you start looking at the quarterbacks and you look at guys like Kenny Pickett and you look at the kid in Atlanta and elsewhere around the league, these younger guys that appear to be failing. Well, now you introduce a whole other metric there, but maybe it's not all on that.
No, it's an important, I think it's the number one, it's a passing league, right? We established that. So if you look at it logically, if it's a passing league, the number one thing you have to do is protect your quarterback.
Yeah.
He's no good to anybody if he's under duress.
Right.
So pass block win rate right now, write this number down, is 55%. That means the defense is winning almost close to half the time.
That's right.
That pass block win rate right now is the lowest since they started keeping the metric in 2016.
All right. And then to your point, to the question that I asked you, there is no better example of a quarterback who benefits from a win on that metric than Jared Goff. Goff is a classic drop-back quarterback.
Yes.
He's going to do you almost no good at all when he wanders out of the pocket. So,
yep. And Detroit is 4th in pass block win rate right now.
All right, so I mentioned at the top of the show the Dallas Cowboys patting themselves on the back, a 20-17 win against an LA Charger team that cannot win a close game. and will find a way to lose it no matter what the circumstances are. Are you thumbs up or down on where the Dallas Cowboys right now going into their bye?
Dallas needed a course correction, and they got it. Everybody's all over Mike McCarthy because he played it ultra-conservative in that game. But Mike McCarthy probably woke up after that loss to San Francisco and said, I'm not going to let Dak Prescott get me fired.
Okay, fair enough.
And I'm going to take control of what's going on the field.
Yeah.
And he won a 1-score game on the road after getting demolished by San Francisco on the road.
Right.
So what I see from Dallas is a head coach who has said enough is enough, and I'm taking control of this offense, and that's a good thing for the Cowboys.
All right. Well said. But one comment on Dallas quickly is that, boy, they can't run the ball. And it's funny. It speaks to, it's really just the other side of the coin you just mentioned on pass blocking, is that there's only, I can point to 3 teams that run the ball really well: San Francisco, Philadelphia, Miami. And what do they all have in common? They're 15-3, right? So the rest of the teams run the ball.
Pat, and we spent the whole summer in this league devaluing the position of the running back.
Yeah.
And the teams that run the ball the best are the Eagles, the Niners, and Miami, 15-3. Yeah. Am I missing something here? Am I getting something lost in the translation, Pat?
I don't think so. All right.
I mean, are we just so old school, me and you, Pat?
I'm guilty of that. I don't know. I'm guilty. Maybe you're not. I'll say I am. But the last team, Sal, I want to ask you about is an old school team, or they play like it. Certainly they're coached like it. And that's the Baltimore Ravens. Another team, Sal, that every year Baltimore is there. They're in the mix. They give you a tough game, but they never seem to me, Sal, to have enough skill position talent to get over the hump. Baltimore's sitting at 4-2 right now. As usual, they're in the thick of the AFC North race. Give me your thoughts on the Ravens. Are they a contender?
They're a contender for the division title. Right now, I don't see them as a contender for the Super Bowl. For the exact reason that you mentioned, they don't have enough playmakers on offense. They have a top 5 scoring defense. So does Cleveland. But they have a top 5 scoring defense. But in the end, 2 things: not enough playmakers, and Lamar Jackson gives the ball up in the 4th quarter in the red zone more than any other quarterback in the NFL.
Bang, bang. Yep.
Bang, bang. That's it.
That's it. That about says it right there. You are right. On Lamar Jackson, we were talking about that last week. That should be a good game this week, Sal, right? Detroit at Baltimore. One of those teams is going to come out of there in really good shape. That's a competitive game on Sunday, right?
Very competitive. Very competitive. You know, the league is a one-score league, Pat. Scoring is down. And so it's up to these coaches now to find, you go into New York, you're playing the Jets. I get it. The Jets have been a problem all year. They're starting to rise. You've got to find a way to win these one-score games.
That's funny.
Sirianni did not. Mike McCarthy did.
Yeah.
The Browns did.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to find a way to win these one-score games. It's not nobody's really winning unless you're Miami playing the Patriots. Nobody's really winning 44-6.
Yes.
It's a very rare that they are. And
No,
the last two Super Bowls were won by 3 points, Pat. It is a one-score league, and it's up to the coaches to take control in the fourth quarter so you don't give games away.
Excellent point. Excellent point. And I think, Sal, that's the way it's going to be the rest of the year for those myriad of reasons you just said, talking about offensive line play, and I was talking about shaky quarterback play. I think you're going to see that. The lower the scoring in the league, right, Sal, the closer the games are going to be, almost by definition.
And you got to follow the money, right?
Yeah.
NFL teams are investing in quarterbacks, pass rushers, wide receivers, and corners.
Right.
They're not really investing or developing offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Very few teams are. The Eagles are the exception, obviously. But you look at the Eagles, they have two guys on the downside of their career, Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey.
Right.
So the other thing, well, we can have a whole dissertation on why offensive line play is down in the NFL. I think the number one reason is you're not hitting enough in practice or training camp. That's just me. Again, old school bubbles to the surface. What do you want from me, Pat?
Well, you gave me plenty tonight, Sal. I really appreciate it. It was excellent discussion, and thank you very much for that. I look forward to you Saturday and Sunday, the matchup show. You mentioned that the concentration on the show this week is Miami at Philadelphia. Any hints or give me a preview of the show this week?
Well, we have Greg Cosell and Darius Butler. Butler, of course, played 9 seasons as a defensive back in the league, so he will look at what the Eagles. Now, here's something for you, Pat. The Eagles have started 14 different players in their secondary this year. 14 due to injuries.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah, that's tied with the Bears and the Titans, believe it or not. And the Bears are 1-5, and the Titans are 2-4. The Eagles are 5-1. How they have survived this is a testament to their resilience, the culture in that locker room. Sean Desai, their new defensive coordinator, but eventually it's got to catch up with them, and it may catch up with them a little bit on Sunday because, they got a track meet with Miami.
That's right. Well, if you think about it, on an average, you might have 5 D-backs on the field at any one time. The Eagles have almost tripled that. In other words, they've almost used 3 different rosters of defensive backs. You're right.
And we're going into week 7.
Yeah. No, it's not like we're in week 17.
No.
Week 7. Yeah.
They may double that number by the end of the year.
How about that? All right. Well, listen, Sal, we look forward to the matchup show. We look forward to your reports on Sunday as part of ESPN's game day coverage. Thank you very much for joining me today, Sal. We'll talk to you real soon.
You got it, Pat.
All right. Great Sal Paolantonio joining me right there. Sean Green, I see, has already logged on and is ready to hurl his usual bunch of epithets and profanity, which we will, of course, edit out. But look forward to talking with Sean about why all the unders. We'll get his take on that next on This Week in Pro Football.
I got everything you need.
Anything can happen when you go live.
I got everything you need. No trouble, don't mean a thing. Snap your fingers and I'm on the scene. Yeah, don't mean a thing. Snap your fingers and I'm on the scene.
Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Voted best casino in Pennsylvania.
Discover the essence of true community banking with First Bank, your trusted partner across eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Their network of branches brings you convenient access to dedicated personal bankers who understand your unique needs. At First Bank, you're not just a customer, you're a valued member of the community. But that's not all. They are excited to join forces with another pillar of the community banking world in eastern Pennsylvania, Malvern Bank. Their team of professionals will fit seamlessly into First Bank's culture of dedication and understanding your financial aspirations to fuel your success. With a deep-rooted commitment to Eastern Pennsylvania, Malvern Bank stands as a testament to community values and unwavering support. Experience the difference of real relationships and dedicated personal bankers. Connect with any member of the team today at our Westchester office, conveniently located at 849 Paoli Pike, or you can call them directly at 484-881-3800. First Bank is an equal opportunity lender and member FDIC. At Whistler Pearlstein LLP, we assemble the most effective team to handle all of your legal needs. There are players and pretenders, but our hustle and heart set us apart. In practice now for over 75 years, we're proud to be one of the most prominent full-service law firms in the Philadelphia region. We offer 17 different areas of practice, including business, corporate, and tax education law, real estate, zoning, and land development, municipal law, and litigation. Our top-rated attorneys and staff are laser-focused on client success. We strive to provide outstanding legal counsel with the highest level of care and consideration. Let us show you the Whistler way. Learn more at WhistlerPearlstein.com or email Michael J. O'Donohue at mod@whistpearl.com. WhistlerPearlstein.com or mod@whistpearl.com.
I want to be a game changer in construction. I want to be able to provide diversity in the workforce, and it starts at the top. I started Rodriguez Construction Group in 2013 with 2 employees, and we're 85 strong today. M&T has been a great partner since day one, providing us the access, the opportunity, the funding to be able to continue our growth. We can change the community in a positive way, one person at a time, one job at a time, and one family at a time. I think M&T Bank is very committed to the community, just like us.
Hi, welcome back here this week in pro football, joined by the gentleman who is in, of course, Valley Sight's top 5 selectors so far this year. That will be the great Sean Green from the Sports Gambling Podcast. Sean, how you doing?
Doing great, Pat. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Nice. Sal Powell was just talking about, didn't want to cut into your time, Sean.
Oh, appreciate that.
Al offered to stay on, and I said, hey, I got Sean Green coming up here this week. You know, but hey, it would be great if we could ever do it. Maybe have both you guys on at the same time. That would be fun because
I'm always down. Love Sal Pal, and just licking my wounds after that Jets loss. That was brutal.
How about that? I did want to ask you quickly, what do you think happened there? Do you, having watched 8 million football games like me, do you attribute any singular type of thing that occurred in that game that caused the Eagles to cough it up?
Well, the Hurts interception at the end was the dagger that really ended the game, but it was just a combination of everything going wrong for the Eagles offense. You lose the turnover battle 4-0. You're not going to win many games. Last 29 times that's happened, only one team has won the game. So yeah, Hurts deserves blame for, that last interception was horrible. You could maybe give him benefit of the doubt in the other one, but then the Goddard, ball that he should have caught, it went right to the guy's hands. DeAndre Swift fumble. I feel like if one of those things doesn't happen, they win the game. And on the other side, the defense played a really good game, but now we've seen 3 games in a row where the defense hasn't created a turnover. And as much as I enjoyed giving Jonathan Gannon a bunch of grief last year, that defense was good at generating turnovers, and we haven't seen any in the last 3 games.
That's fair. All fair points, Sean. And the other thing I mentioned too is, and look, I'm not white hot about this, but still, look at game situations. You got Zach Wilson on that other side.
Yeah.
Okay, that is not Aaron Rodgers. Okay, hopefully you can tell the difference between the two. Eagles up by 1. You got a 3rd and 9. Why not just run the ball there and say to your defense, look, because the Eagles were at midfield, just punt the ball from your 40, pin them down at around their 10, and tell Zach Wilson, hey, Zach, you got to get the ball from your 10 to our 30 in order to have a real shot at the winning field goals. You got to go 60 yards. Let's see you do it. I mean, I'm with you.
I would have been fine with that, especially considering how well the defense was playing. But in the long term, maybe this was good for the Eagles because they kind of been getting some wins, maybe without playing their best brand of football. So hopefully a wake up call for the Eagles.
All right. The Eagles' opponent this week, Sean Green, the Miami Dolphins. By the way, Sean is presented by the great folks at Live Hotel, Restaurant, and Casino. Please check it out in South Philadelphia. Miami, as Sal pointed out, Sean, 5-24 combined record of the 5 teams they have beaten. Give me your thoughts on the Dolphins. I see it, and everyone has to check out the Sports Gambling Podcast website. Sean Green's picks are on there. I want everyone just laser in on them right now. I see the lock. I see the blue lock is next to Philadelphia and Miami. Give me your thoughts on is Miami for real, according to Sean Green, and why do you feel so confident about the Eagles?
Yeah, it is rare that I lock up the Eagles. Normally, I don't want to jinx the Eagles and put added pressure on them. But to me, this is more about Jalen Hurts in a bounce back spot, right? I mean, this guy is incredibly focused, works incredibly hard. You saw that he had the Super Bowl confetti going down on him as his phone wallpaper there because he wanted to be so driven and motivate himself for that. Well, how much is he going to be driven and motivated to beat Tua, the guy that came in for him when he was in the national championship game at Alabama? Like, this is the ultimate revenge factor for Jalen Hurts. Not to mention, you have to go back to October 2021 where Hurts has lost back-to-back starts. So I think we're getting the best version of Hurts in this game. And you look at the other side, Jalen Carter should be back. Darius Slay should be back. Lane Johnson looks to be a go. This Eagles team is completely different with and without Lane Johnson. Now, they do have to slow down Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, which can be scary with the secondary. On the segment before, you had that great nugget about 14 different starters in the Eagles secondary. So that's really concerning. And it looks like Reed Blankenship probably, I'm projecting he will be out for this game, but at least they have Slay and Bradbury. I think really it's going to come down to, can they knock Tua off his spot? And Tua as a road underdog hasn't been great. So all that, and they're wearing their Kelly Green jerseys. The place will be electric. I think that's enough to carry them.
Kelly Green is big, and I'm telling you, Sean, 2.5. Now, look, I thought the Eagles were going to comfortably win last week. What the hell do I know? But 2.5. All they got to do is win by a field goal. That seems like an awful inviting number to me. I know, but Miami, a formidable passing team. But Sean, I'm stuck on that 5. And I mean, that is not a murderer's row there. The Chargers, New England, Denver, the Giants, and Carolina.
Miami,
worth a damn.
And I think they can really help themselves out by running the ball with DeAndre Swift, by, letting Jalen Hurts get some underneath stuff. And I know normally they want to win with big explosive plays, and those might be there as well. But really dominating time of possession, I think, is a great way to limit the Dolphins' opportunities here.
All right. Sean Green, another game I hope we see Sunday here in the Philadelphia area. Detroit travels to Baltimore. The Lions, I was asking Sal if does he see them pretender or contender. He thinks they're legit contender at 5-1. They go to Baltimore, always a tough place to play. Baltimore, a 3-point favorite, over under 43. Give me your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, this is a tough spot, I think, for the Lions because it's back-to-back road games here against a decent opponent in the Baltimore Ravens. But ultimately, I'm going to take the Detroit Lions and the points because of I think there's a real turnover issue going on with Lamar Jackson. He's fumbled the ball 7 times this season. He's only lost, I think, 3 or 4 of those, but I think you got to have better ball control. And I don't see enough explosive playmakers out of the Ravens for them to get it done. And, maybe it's the 90 ounces of caffeine he consumes, but Dan Campbell really motivates these guys. And I'm just tired of losing money betting against the Detroit Lions. I've learned my lesson. They're for real. So I'll take them getting 3 points. This is a tough spot for them schedule-wise, but ultimately I do like the points here.
Okay, that's very good. Once you mentioned about Lamar Jackson, I can't get over that pass he threw at the end of the Steelers game where he literally lobbed the ball into the end zone for a crucial interception, led to the Steelers winning the game. I just don't believe in Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry. I know he's gaudy. I know he can run like hell. I know that. But when you got to go 65 yards to win the game, there's going to be a dozen NFL quarterbacks you're going to pick before Lamar Jackson, I think. But I don't know if Jared Goff is one of them. a big game for, Goff needs to continue to show, Sean, week in, week out, that he is an upper tier NFL quarterback. He gets another chance to do so. The last game quickly, Sean, before because I do want to ask you your thoughts on the dominance of the unders this year, but quickly, the LA Chargers, who I just lampoon every week as being a team that doesn't know how to win games. And it's just shocking, Sean, year in and year out, they don't know how to win these games. No matter how much the roster of the coaching staff changes, the Chargers can't win a 3-point game. Off they go now to Kansas City. San Diego. Does LA have any kind of puncher's chance in this game?
Yeah, I mean, so if you're talking yourself into the Chargers, they've played the Chiefs actually kind of close over the years, right. And but ultimately losing the game and getting the cover. I'm going Chiefs here, and less so. There's going to be a ton of talk about the quarterbacks, rightly so, two big names, but the Chiefs defense to me is really, really good, and I just don't think the Chargers offense is going to have much of an answer for it.
Yeah, I don't know, Sean. I just don't. I think, again, it's going to be another disappointing year for the LA Chargers.
Yeah, they figure out ways to lose. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's right. And it's just so, it looks like Brandon Staley, this could be it for a very short stay as an NFL head coach before he's a DC again. All right, Sean, give me your thoughts here. Sal Pao and I talked about it at some length in the prior segment. And Sal brought it up, how the unders are dominating here. He mentions offensive line pass block win rate and the fact that it's almost 50-50 as a major reason why offenses are struggling. Just give me your thoughts on why you think teams are scoring is so far down and whether you think it's going to continue the rest of the year.
Yeah, I would add on to, and I agree with Sal's point. I think that's a good point. Maybe we see some of that cleaned up as the season goes along. A lot of these teams aren't playing guys in preseason, so it almost takes the entire month of September before we actually see some clean, crisp offense because they haven't really been playing. They didn't play 3-4 preseason games. I would add on to this. I do think everyone's favorite subject, analytics, is at least partly to blame. You look at a guy like Brandon Staley. Just look at that Monday night game against, Brandon Staley and Mike McCarthy. They both had 4th and 1 at the 20-yard line. They both went for it, which analytics says you should do. Yeah. They both with bad play calls. Justin Herbert on the boot rollout. He probably could have got it running. Instead, he tried to force a pass incomplete. Dak Prescott, he needs to go to Philadelphia to figure out how to get a QB sneak. It's so fun. But we have to stop that play because it's too unstoppable. Meanwhile, every team tries to do it and they can't figure it out. So I think situations like that. So even in that situation back in the day, both those 4th and 1s, the coaches just would have kicked the field goals. They would have got 6 points right there, and you're that much closer to hitting the over. So
you were right. Yeah, you were right about that, and you're that much closer to winning the game. Sean. Yeah. It's amazing now how you're right. Analytics is taking, you got to go for it. Oh, really? You got to go for it? In a game that obvious was going to be a close game. Talk about the Monday Nighter. It's obvious it's going to be a close game. I have an idea. Put 3 damn points on the board, and you're that much closer to winning the game against a team that is going to choke it up at the end. But
totally. So analytics says, hey, 55% of the time, go for it. 45% you don't. So or if you don't go for it, whatever. So we're seeing a lot of these 45%, 40% outcomes of these analytics not working out. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I bet if you looked at 4th down conversion, that's really been down a little bit, and red zone efficiency because of the more aggressive nature. Now there's going to be a world where maybe some of this writes itself out later on in the season and we start seeing the overs come through, and even the totals that they set this week felt like a point and a half lower. So the market will adjust. It always does. The books aren't going to just keep giving out free money on the unders. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see the data at the end of the season.
We'll have to keep a close eye on. All right, listen, before I let you go here, Justin Bruni's furious with me because we're late on his segment. You know how mercurial he is.
Oh, yes.
But give me a couple of props from Eagles Dolphins, something that may have caught your eye, and then tell everybody where to find Sean Green. I know you're going to have your Matt Stafford jersey on. You're going to be rooting the Rams on against the Steelers on Sunday. But give me a couple of props.
Well, we'll see because, what do
you mean?
Even in I was going to say I actually do like the Steelers there against.
I know you do. I wasn't even going to bring it up. I saw that. Yeah.
And normally I'm high on the Rams, but my co-host talked me into you got to play the Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. Even in the loss, that thing came through last week.
And that was a ridiculous call. He did not score that touchdown. This is amazing. Answer me this honestly. If that had been Zach Wilson trying to stick his hand over the goal line, do you think they'd have given him the touchdown?
It was weird. I was happy they ruled it a touchdown, but you never saw – I didn't think you saw enough evidence that they would overturn it. I thought eye test – initially it looked like he got in, but they ruled it no, and then fortunate to get them to overturn that. So you always got to play the Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. And A.J. Brown just continues to go off. It's 4 games now in a row with more than 125 yards receiving. So catches, receiving yards, that is that's a beast. And then I would say Tua over a half interception. I think finally the Eagles do something here. They just haven't gotten a turnover to save their life. I think they're really due in that capacity. So
I like that. I think the odds. He's a short guy. I think the odds of a tip ball interception pretty high. I like that one very much. Yep. All right, Sean Green. That was an excellent. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, and I was going to say, check us out over at Sports Gambling Podcast. We're running a free second chance survivor contest. $3,000 up for grabs. SportsGamblingPodcast.com/survivor. SportsGamblingPodcast.com/survivor.
All right, wait a minute. I'm going to get in on that.
You should. It's free.
Help me win that $3,000.
Let's go.
All right, Green. I appreciate it very much. Everybody, check Sean out. Check that contest out, and do what he says because he's a top five prognosticator.
Knock on wood.
All right. Thank you very much, pal. We'll talk to you next week. All right, Sean Green, check it in there. Justin Bruni is waiting in the wings. I want to get him on here to yell at him because Joe Mixon Day was a complete disaster, and Justin has to explain why. And Justin's going to tell you who to dust off the shelf here on Buy Mageddon. We're going to do that next on This Week in Pro Football.
I got everything you need.
Anything can happen when you go live.
I got everything you need. No trouble, don't mean a thing. Snap your fingers and I'm on the scene. Yeah, don't mean a thing. Snap your fingers and I'm on the scene.
Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia, voted best casino in Pennsylvania.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
John Kennedy Ford. Their reputation sounded too good to be true, so my partner and I decided to do a little digging.
They know we can see them, right?
We could get them a great deal if they just come inside.
They made us. Run! Uncovering a better car buying experience is easy at John Kennedy Ford. Enjoy your ride.
Johnny Apple's Restaurant and Bar opened in 2001 and for over 20 years has been serving great food and good times to Bucks County residents, friends, and family. Ideally located at 184 Buck Road in Holland, Johnny Apple's offers a terrific array of steaks, seafood, and daily specials. They also host private parties and affairs of any size. For excellent food, great company, and a relaxed lunch or dinner, check out Johnny Apple's Restaurant at 215-953-9900 or at johnnyapplesrestaurant.com.
All right, welcome back here this week in pro football. And joining me right now is my arch nemesis, Justin Bruni from SGPN. Justin, how you doing?
Good. What did I do?
What happened?
What happened?
Last Sunday was Joe Mixon Day.
I wish.
And you promised me you were going to make it happen. And lo and behold, 12 carries for 30 some yards. There are just almost no running backs worth playing in the NFL right now, Justin. I mean, it's just ridiculous. If it's not Christian McCaffrey, who's a lock to score every single week. I mean, who the hell is worth playing as a running back in this league anymore?
Just a week-to-week mystery, really. I mean, we were really down on Derrick Henry. He had a big comeback last week. I had someone on my show saying to start James Cook over him. I said, how can you sit the king? Like how do you keep like a guy like Derrick Henry on your bench and he scores a touchdown? He may very well not score one. I guess they're on bye this week, but he may not very well score in his next game. They're talking about trading him. So no, a ton of volatility at the position right now. Even when you see like good games out of like DeAndre Swift, he's still doing very little on a per carry basis these last couple of games. So, it's just very volatile this year. And, as you guys are talking about at the top of the show, it's, more of a passing league. The receivers are becoming more valuable.
It's crazy. I, as I've spoken with you about, I've been successful in fantasy football, and I actually go heavy running back, which I know is swimming against the tide, but I like to pick guys that touch the ball 20 times a game. Yep. And it's very rare, unless it's a Justin Jefferson type. You're not going to get that out of a receiver. But
Joe Mixon used to be that guy, though. Like he used to be 20 touches per game. He's averaging 16 touches per game this season. You referenced just 12 in this last game. And, I'll talk about Seattle a little bit when we get into kind of some of our options for this week. But I felt like that would have been a game where he would have been utilized just because I felt like they would be ahead.
I know, Justin. First and goal at the 3-yard line. I'm just using Mixon as an example because it's always First and goal at the 3-yard line. Will you come on and just run the ball into the end zone instead? Nope. Yeah. Mixon, find some guy that you signed an hour and a half earlier and hit him for a 3-yard touchdown pass. But that's the way the league is right now, isn't it?
No, absolutely. I had the same situation with Derrick Henry last week before he scored the touchdown. He had a massive run. He brought his team all the way down the field, and then they took him out. They said, Tajay Spears, here's a carry. And then they threw the ball consecutive plays. Like, what are you doing? Why did you they just settled for a field goal? Like Derrick Henry just handed them 3 points, and instead of just continuing to use him, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, the running back position, Justin, is just a complete enigma right now. And I went heavy running back on the draft. Right now, my most valuable 4 guys are Amon-Ra St. Brown, Christian Watson. I picked up Puka Nacua, and I have Adam Thielen, as you and I were talking about last week. None of them running backs that I invested in.
Sell one. It's selling season. Maybe you sell one of those receivers, get you a viable running back for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I could do that. Anyway, it is Bye-Mageddon. 6 teams on the bye, Justin. And you got, including Cincinnati, a lot of fantasy guys use there. Cowboys are off, as you mentioned. Tennessee is off. Carolina is off. So I got a feeling not there. Just give me a couple names of guys that ordinarily would be gathering dust that you think might be viable guys to throw out there this week.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of these guys may not be so much dust-worthy, but I think they're very good options this week. So Michael Wilson for the Arizona Cardinals, he's going up against Seattle. Seattle allowing the most fantasy points to the wide receiver position. I also like, Rondell Moore there. Kind of pick your poison between either of those two or more of like a higher exposed player like a Marquise Brown. I think all those guys are live. And also in that same game, opposite of them with Seattle, I think JSN could potentially be live this week. We've got Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf being limited and missing practice. I don't want to lock this in right now on Thursday, but if you see either of those guys going into that game with, at bare minimum, a questionable tag, Arizona allowing the 7th most fantasy points per game to the wide receiver position. So I think both of those guys in the same game are a great opportunity. I do like points to be scored in that one. At running back, I really like A.J. Dillon. That's not something that I say very often, but he gets to play the Broncos this week. So you love any running back playing the Broncos, period. So A.J. Dillon, and also in that same matchup, Broncos, they allow the most fantasy points to the running back position on a game-by-game basis. The Packers allow the 4th most. So I like Jaleel McLaughlin. I don't really feel comfortable with Javonte Williams, period. He just doesn't have that same burst, that same juice that I'm seeing from McLaughlin. And it just seems like Williams and Samaje Perine, they're just not up to cut.
Williams coming off that injury. I mean, it's really something, Justin, and it's more evident each year that guys coming off these ACL type injuries, they need a year to get themselves back together. I think Williams, and of course the fact Denver stinks on ice.
They're just really bad.
Example of that. But it's funny how you mentioned A.J. Dillon, because I'll never again take Aaron Jones as a draft pick on my team because he's the single most frustrating running back to even. He's worse than Joe Mixon because Jones is a top 5 talent running back, and the Packers literally refuse to let him touch the ball inside the 5. It's an amazing thing. But anyway, I really like that. I like those names you just threw out there. Now, one other thing, Justin, I want to ask you, quarterback starts or sits, right? Let me just throw a couple names out at you. You tell me where you think they're viable for this week because the quarterback position, I was talking with Sean Green and with Sal Pal about it. The league scoring is down and it's starting obviously at the quarterback position. A lot of cases because offensive lines are very shaky, but in other cases, maybe not. Kirk Cousins Monday night, my guy, full disclosure, my guy at home against San Francisco. I think it's a horrible situation.
That's a hard sit. Yeah, I mean, find someone else. That's what I have to say to that one. Yeah, find somebody else. San Francisco, one of the best teams up against quarterbacks in fantasy. I don't want to touch it if I can avoid it. And I expect, you could see Cousins throw a touchdown, maybe even 2. But if you lose points in your league for him even just dropping the ball, I'm in a lot of leagues where if you fumble the ball, no matter what, you lose 2 points. You have to recover it to get the points back, no matter what. So if someone else on your team recovers it, you don't get the points back. It's incredibly frustrating. Lamar Jackson, who you guys were talking about earlier, been doing a lot of that, and it just kills me. So I don't want any bit of Kirk Cousins this week. I could honestly see the 49ers just blowing them out on the road.
I see it too, but I'm counting on the blowout for Cousins getting a couple of garbage touchdowns late. Lamar Jackson, you just mentioned him. I don't like him as an NFL quarterback. And I think Justin, as a fantasy quarterback, he's great like one a month. Once a month, he'll go off maybe a couple rushing touchdowns or 88 rushing yards, something like that. But week in, week out, he plays Detroit this week, a good aggressive defense. Let's start him or sit him.
I am all over Detroit this week. I do not ever want to sit Lamar Jackson. You're probably in a very weird situation if you even have the ability to sit him, because you're not going to sit him for someone like, whoever is playing the Bears this week, like whatever quarterback is healthy for the Raiders. You're not starting that guy over Lamar Jackson, but I don't love him this week. So as far as like a hot or not, or a start or sit, I would say to sit him. I don't love the matchup this week. And you know what? Just a little bit more about Lamar Jackson, because you guys are talking about him earlier. Shame on the Ravens. Shame on the Ravens for saying like, oh, someone's going to come in and do it better than Greg Roman, who had his offense finish with the first, 19th, and 8th most points scored in the league in his last 4 years with the team. And you're telling me that Todd Monken's going to come in and just rewrite the system, and this is going to be a passing offense now. Shame on them. Absolutely incorrect. I had it wrong.
Well done. 2 other names for you. Russell Wilson. It's just unbelievable. This guy,
easy sit.
He used to be good,
when he ran the ball.
way back 2-3 years ago when he was a dominant NFL quarterback. It's just an amazing thing. Since he went to Denver, he's been terrible. And you're seeing him as a hard sit this week.
Hard sit. People have also correlated his decline with the similarities of him having a more public profile. People are under the belief that Russell Wilson's going to run for president someday. So take that info as you will.
All right. Well, he's not running for any first downs or touchdowns. He might as well.
Absolutely not. But the front office, he's got his eyes on.
The last name, Justin, that I want to hit you with is that of Brock Purdy, coming off he looked like a guy who was the last pick in the draft Sunday against a very good and underrated Cleveland defense. How big a comeback do you see out of Brock Purdy Monday night against Minnesota?
Like a 20-point swing in your fantasy league. Yeah. It's going to be, like, oh, they had us in the first half. They had us in week 6, but man, Brock came back for me in week 7. I mean, the Vikings are just atrocious on defense. Can't stop the run. Can't stop the pass. The 49ers are like one of the premier offenses in the league next to the Dolphins. So it's going to be a touchdown fest for all the 49ers. Fire up everybody.
Fire up every 49er you got, of course, of which I have none. So, all right, don't rub it in anymore, Justin, please. Just tell everybody here where you can find Justin Bruni on Sunday when the panic button is officially hit. Where does everybody find you to track you down? Both give me your X and give me where else to find you.
Yeah, when I'm not in the office here, you can find me on X at SGPNJB, and you can find us on Sundays on YouTube at the SGPN Fantasy Football Podcast channel. We'll be answering all your starter sit questions come join us. At trade, questions, start, sit, whatever you got, we're there for you.
Michael Wilson and Rondell Moore. Kyler Murray's not expected to play this week, Justin, is he?
No, he's not. But Josh Dobbs has been sneaky, and I'll tell you what.
That's right.
I'm in some super flex leagues where I got to start some Josh Dobbs this week. It's tough.
It's not like Kyler Murray is the next coming of Johnny Unitas either. I don't know how big a step up it's going to be for Arizona when Murray returns and they sit Dobbs down. But it's funny they re-signed Murray. I think that was just a colossal blunder.
I think their organization is incredibly upside down right now. I think they're doing a lot of things wrong. Kyler Murray is honestly the least of their concerns. At least they have an above average quarterback talent wise. I think he needs better people around him. Like when you're looking at him as a prospect, like you guys are talking earlier, like the Desmond Ritters, Gardner Minshew is a starting QB in the NFL right now. Honestly, he should probably start on more teams. Sam Howell, I mean, he's playing well, but like he came out of nowhere. Zach Wilson's a starter right now. Dan Jones, like the talent level is just really down. And Kyler Murray's like at the top of that. He's just in a bad spot. He's in a bad team.
Excellent. That's well put. Well done. All right, we're going to keep track of these names. AJ Dillon I like a lot. We'll see if Justin turns out to nail that. Everybody check Justin Bruni out. Justin, appreciate it very much. We'll talk to you next week. All right?
Be good, sir. Take care.
All right. The great Justin Bruni joining me there, talking some fantasy football. Tough week this week. A lot of guys sitting out. This guy never sits out, and that would be the great Gary Myers. Gary's going to join me, and I want to talk to him about his good friend, Roger Goodell, and I want to talk to him about some contenders and pretenders. We're going to do that next on This Week in Pro Football.
Welcome to Park Bank, a return to better banking. With 7 convenient locations covering Philadelphia and South Jersey, you can now earn more with Park Bank's premier money market account, offering depositors 5% APY on balances under $50,000 and 5.35% APY on balances $50,000 and above. Take advantage of this limited time offer. APY equals annual percentage yield. The minimum deposit required to open the account is $1,000. No service charges are imposed, provided you maintain a daily minimum balance of $1,000. Fees may reduce earnings. The quoted APYs are accurate as of October 10, 2023 and are subject to change at any time. For more information, go to parkbank.com. That's parkbank.com. Member FDIC.
Concrete Cutting Systems Incorporated, the concrete cutting specialists in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. These guys are celebrating their 28th anniversary as the industry leader in the field of concrete cutting and robotic demolition. Any type of concrete cutting or drilling, concrete demolition or interior excavating, call the specialists. Concrete Cutting Systems. They're the only full union concrete cutting company based in Philadelphia. Call the guys today at 215-533-0652. The website is concretecuttingsystems.net. Let's go Eagles.
Evolution Energy Partners has helped hundreds of businesses save millions of dollars on their energy spend. They offer electricity and gas procurement strategies, efficiency audits and engineering and financing solutions, as well as online utility bill management. To learn how your business can save, visit www.evolutionep.com or contact Chuck Herschella at 610-329-8288. Evolution Energy Partners, energy solutions to improve your bottom line.
Welcome back to Pro Football, presented by Kennedy Ford. Justin Bruni, presented by the great folks at Concrete Cutting Systems. And this gentleman here is courtesy of M&T Bank, and that would be the great Gary Myers, the author of Once a Giant, and a long time columnist for the New York Daily News, Dallas Morning News. Gary, how you doing?
I'm doing great tonight, Pat. How are you?
Good. I saw you with glasses a few minutes ago. Now the glasses are gone. Which is it? Who's the real Gary Myers?
Without the glasses. The glasses are my reading glasses, but
okay.
I can see right through you. I don't need to read your facial expression.
I'm too inscrutable, Gary. You can't see through me. No one knows what I'm thinking. But thank you very much for joining me tonight. Gary, more surprising loss last week. San Francisco losing to Cleveland or Philadelphia losing to the Jets?
I'd probably say Philadelphia losing to the Jets because half the crowd at MetLife Stadium, I happened to be there for that game, was rooting for the Eagles. So it was really like a home game for them. And the Jets offense did nothing. The Eagles turned the ball over four times. Yeah. So uncharacteristic. And Pat, getting off point just a little bit, on that final drive by the Eagles that resulted in that interception, I think it was either 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 10.
3rd and 9, Gary. Right.
Why didn't he run the ball? Jets are out of timeouts. You get the clock down to just over a minute with the punt. You force Zach Wilson to go 60 yards to get the Jets into field goal range. Yeah. I think that was a much safer way of trying to put away the game than throwing into double coverage.
I know.
I didn't get a chance to read the Philly papers this week, but I hope somebody just roasted Sirianni for that just reckless, irresponsible decision that he made there.
Yeah, you just said verbatim what I said to Sean Green a few minutes ago, because you're exactly right. That was the decision. You don't always have to be aggressive. Sometimes you just want to win the game. That was a game the Eagles, by that time, Gary, the Eagles knew that they were in a dogfight and that they had basically messed their way up into letting the Jets stay in the game. Just get the hell out of there with a win. That's all they needed to do.
Absolutely. And I think they had converted a 3rd down right around the 2-minute warning. And then the Jets were out of timeouts. And when they converted that 3rd down, I thought this game's over.
Right.
Because by the time the Jets get the ball back, if they had stopped them.
That's right.
They would have been so deep in the territory with a good punt and too far to go with, let's face it, Zach Wilson is pretty much inept. And moving that far against Eagles defense, I would have just about walked out of the stadium and not felt any need to watch. And then, boy, that was just a horrendous decision by Jalen Hurts to throw that ball. So, yeah, long way of answering your question. I think the Philadelphia loss was worse because I think even without Deshaun Watson, Cleveland played the 49ers really tough, and the 49ers had a chance to win the game with a field goal. Yeah. And they played, without McCaffrey and Debo, for a good chunk of that game. Yeah. So, I guess, listen, flip a coin, which was more surprising. I certainly expected both teams to win going in.
It's funny, Gary. It's become a league, and I was talking with Sal Paolantonio about this earlier.
Yeah.
At some length, and that is that the unders keep showing up. The league scoring is definitely off, and what I think that's done is the compression in scoring has, almost by definition, resulted in the lesser teams hanging around in the game. Because when there's lesser scoring, even if both teams are doing it, the margin shrinks between the team winning and the team losing. And what I think it's done is it's allowed teams with P.J. Walker at quarterback and Zach Wilson at quarterback to stay in these games and let it come down to a one-off play like you described, Jalen Hurts interception.
And you could have easily thrown into what was more surprising. You could have thrown Buffalo in there if the Giants had not screwed things up at the end of the first half, and then were able to get it in at the end of the second half with the backup quarterback Tyrod Taylor playing for the Giants.
Now, you mentioned, Gary, the Eagles making a mistake on that play call. And let me just ask you this. At the end of that Sunday night game, okay, I understand they botched it at the end of the first half by giving the ball to Saquon. But at the end of the game on the 1-yard line, don't you want to hand the ball to your best player and tell him, hey, 26, who had been running terrifically in the fourth quarter of that game? Don't you want to hand the ball to 26 and say, go win this game?
Well, they're probably, scared off by what happened at the end of the first half, where it was a similar situation where they were on the field, the 1-yard line, and he got stuffed. What I would have done, the play I would have called, this to me is almost an unstoppable play that you've seen so many times already this year. Quarterback rolls a little bit to the right. A tight end or a running back leaks into the right flat, and he always seems to be wide open.
It's true.
And excuse me.
Yeah, exactly the play the Chargers ran to score Dallas. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
And then the other thing you can factor into this is, and I don't think we've discussed this yet this year, the officiating is probably the worst I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
On the final play of that Giant game, Darren Waller, there's no question, it was pass interference again.
Right.
They just called it on a previous play, and how they did. I mean, how do you let a game end when a guy's tugging at somebody else's jersey and he's got a 6-inch height advantage, and he clearly couldn't get his arms up to try to make a catch? I mean, I listen. This is a completely different tangent. Sometimes that happens with you and me.
Yeah.
I really think the officiating is ruining the game. Not only from the standpoint of if you're a fan of a team and there's a big play, the first thing you're doing, like I think we've talked about this a little bit, you look for that yellow marker at the end of the bottom of the screen to see if there's a flag.
No question.
But then there's just so many, the officiating is just so inconsistent.
I know.
In what they're calling, what they're not calling. And listen, they might as well put red jerseys on quarterbacks, because if you breathe on them.
The roughing the passer penalties have just become an absolute disaster, in my opinion, Gary, because yeah, you're right. And they're game changers. They're 15-yard penalties when, and you're right. And so that has been a major problem. And then
you can't hit a quarterback unless he still has the ball in his hands. Yeah. Otherwise, no matter when he gets rid of it, even if it's a split second before and you hit him, 15 yards.
And you better hit him from the numbers to the belt. If you hit him anywhere near above those numbers or anywhere below that belt, I don't care if he's holding the ball or not, you're giving them a first down. You're exactly right about that. So
the red jerseys, they just might as well just put them in the red jerseys.
Yeah, I know, it's terrible.
I understand they're trying to keep making the game safe, but let's add another game to the regular season schedule to prove how Goodell really cares about the safety of the players.
And let's play half the games on artificial surfaces.
Yeah,
a 17th week, but then we'll talk about player safety game in and game out and how important it is. That's certainly true. But the players keep signing up to it, Gary, and I don't know. It's something else. But
that's what happens when you don't have a strong union and guys have short careers and they don't want to take a chance on any work stoppages, because any money missed, they'll never make back. And it turns out to be a pretty large percentage of what the average player makes. If he's got a 3 or 4 year career and, there's a work stoppage for half a season, figure that out. It's a pretty big percentage of what his career earnings would be. And nobody really wants to take that chance.
Agreed. And you better buy that work comp insurance like the New York Jets should have done. Aaron Rodgers. But all right, Gary Myers, I want you to give me a 1-sentence up or down. I asked Sal Paolantonio these. Let me compare your answers. Contenders after week 6. The Detroit Lions 5-1. By default, they become the 3rd best team in a very weak NFC. You up or down on Detroit?
I am up on Detroit. It's a carryover from last season. They play in a weak division, so they have a shot at the number 1 seed in the NFC, because they're going to pile up victories in the NFC North.
How about that? Yeah, imagine Detroit being the number 1 seed.
I mean, great. That'd be great.
The Dallas Cowboys, I'm not sold on them, Gary. They won a 3-point game against a team that has no idea how to win close games. Up or down on Dallas?
I'm down on Dallas. I think if they make the playoffs, we'll see an exit once again before they reach the championship game, because why should they get to the championship game? They haven't been there since 1995. I mean, that's an amazing accomplishment.
And it's an amazing stat, coming up on 30 years without going to the NFC title game. The Baltimore Ravens, I talked to Sal Paolantonio about this. I'm just not sold on Lamar Jackson. They're sitting at 4-2, tough division. They're always competitive. They're always there every single week. But are you up or down on Baltimore?
I'm down on them in terms of what's going to happen in January, up on them in terms of potentially winning that division. They are the same team every year.
Yeah. All right.
So you give them that for consistency, except it only takes you so far.
They never solve their skill position player problem, Gary. They never do. They never get enough skill position players.
Right. And Zay Flowers looks like a pretty good player. They're getting nothing out of OBJ.
OBJ.
They really missed J.K. Dobbins in the running game.
Their running game is nothing. Why they don't sign a Fournette or somebody like that, I don't know. But okay. And then the last team, I only mentioned it because you're a New York guy.
Down.
That you're down.
I know you're not mentioning the Giants, so we're talking about the Jets.
We're talking about the Jets, but I mean, Long Island is very excited right now about this team managing somehow to be 3-3. A lot of talk. They're going to get into the wild card conversation. Up or down on the Jets?
You know the Jets play in Jersey, not Long Island.
Yeah, I know, but the Jets fan base is suburban. Isn't the Jets fan base like the Long Island type area as opposed?
Well, yeah, it always was. When they played Shea State, they played Shea Stadium. Mets, Jets, Nets. That's the grouping of all the Ets. But because they've been in Jersey since '84, and they're actually have their headquarters in Jersey since 2008. I mean, they played in Jersey since '84. They moved to Florham Park in 2008. It has transitioned into being more of a Jersey fan base for the Jets than it ever has been before. But you're right, Long Island is the Jets, forever home territory.
You're not sold on the Jets hanging in the wild card race?
No, here's two things I'm not sold on. I'm not sold on Zach Wilson being able to sustain this, to hand the baton off to Aaron Rodgers, who's probably got as good a chance of playing this season as you or I. I mean, I think the teasing that he's doing of the Jets fan base right now.
Not true. You are so right about that.
It'll be a medical miracle. A guy coming back from a torn Achilles. Now on New York radio station, well, maybe it was only partially torn. That wasn't a complete rupture. He had surgery to repair his Achilles. Well, I'm told it doesn't matter. Once you got the surgery, it doesn't matter whether it was partially or fully torn. It's still an Achilles surgery, which is one of the most difficult and long rehab periods. And for Aaron Rodgers to go on Pat McAfee's show every week and just tease the Jet fans, about coming back.
I know, and throwing the passes pregame, passes.
That was a photo op if I've ever seen one.
All right, Gary Myers, I want to ask you this. I know you were very excited. The NFL extending the contract of Commissioner Roger Goodell, clearly underpaid. It's great to see the NFL correct that egregious mistake. You think the league is well served by having Goodell extended as commissioner?
Well, let's put it this way. If we're going to look at the league as two entities, the owners and the players, two separate entities, certainly the owners are well served. Look what he's done for them financially. It's amazing with now, not saying nobody else could have done this, but with the TV contracts and all the other revenue streams with gambling and whatnot, the betting apps that now become a major sponsor.
I know.
I mean, this has become an ATM machine that you don't even need the password. The owners just go in, they stick their card in, and the money just flows out without even, them having to identify themselves. As far as the players are concerned, obviously they would not have given Roger Goodell an extension. They would have tried to kick him out of office, right now, because he has not been a good commissioner for the players. I don't think. And simply, if you just want to narrow it down to one aspect of the game, and that's adding the 17th game, you can't stand on a soapbox and preach that you're trying to make it everything you can safe for the players with every rule that you're making, and then make a play another regular season game. I mean, how hypocritical is that? I know Roger was underpaid at about $64 million last year.
How he made ends meet, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think, his break-even point is probably about $90 million to support,
his
private plane and all the other stuff. Well, he actually that's in his contract. So they had to pay for that. Poor Roger. He's come such a long way since he was a low intern in the PR department of the league.
I know, Gary.
And he's so well liked by the fans. I mean, what owners wouldn't want their commissioner getting up there every year at the draft and getting booed off the stage? Just kind of make them feel really good.
No matter where the hell the draft is. And then for the NFL to even contemplate, Gary, putting a Super Bowl in Europe, I'd almost like to see them do it, to see what a slap to the fans of the National Football League to do something like that. It's bad enough the Buffalo Bills had to give up a home game. They're one of the great fan bases in the league. They make them give up a home game to play Jacksonville over in London, which is ridiculous. But even contemplate doing something like that, it just goes to show you this league. It's not about the fans. I don't know how many times Roger says it. It's about everything but the fans.
Especially during the playoffs when they say, okay, which game has a chance to be 10 degrees with 5 inches of snow? Okay, let's put that on Saturday night.
You are exactly right.
Right.
1,000% right. Yep, that's right. And that's the way they look out for the fans. You're exactly right.
I mean, it was after the Tuck Rule game in Foxborough, the Raiders Patriots game. That ruined everything because they had a blizzard, and it was like it reminded everybody of being out as a kid in the backyard when it snowed. Playing football, and they had high ratings. They said, "Hey, let's try to recreate this every year."
Question: No question. I'll tell you what, the NHL did the same thing. Their first outdoor game, and their first New Year's Day outdoor game was Buffalo-Pittsburgh, and it was a snow globe game because it snowed like hell in Buffalo today. And the league jumped on that like nobody's business. And you are exactly right. That snow globe game, New England, Oakland, resulted in the same thing.
Pat, you know the most amazing thing is? Here we are coming up with legitimate criticisms of the NFL. And the sport could not be more popular today.
I know.
If they did everything right.
No.
And they don't do everything right.
I
So
don't know.
there's no incentive to do everything right.
Have to do everything right. I don't know, but you're exactly right, Gary. But Roger
We've
Goodell.
agreed too much tonight, Pat. I like it better when we argue about stuff.
Well, we're going to argue about something. I'm sure we're going to get around to the Hall of Fame discussion. I'm trying to set aside some time. I'm going to have to do a 2.5-hour show that night because the NFL, I can't. It just drives me crazy. The guys that are in the Hall, and I know you're a voter. I'd love to talk to you about it.
Yeah, sure.
The book is called Once a Giant. I know it's available everywhere. I know it's a bestseller. And it's a terrific book. And I just want to stress to everybody, it'd be a great Christmas gift, right, Gary? No matter who you root for, it's really more than just about the New York Giants, right?
Yeah, it's really about life after football for players who are now in their 50s and 60s. I just chose to write about the Giants because I know so many of them, and I already knew a little bit in advance about some of the struggles they're having. But whereas some of their issues might be unique to them, overall, it's not unique to them. Every team has a list of players from that era and that generation that are really struggling with the after effects of playing such a violent sport.
It makes you think, Gary. We just lost a guy like Dick Butkus a couple of weeks ago. There's a classic example of a guy on whose shoulders every player in the league today stands.
Yeah.
Yet Dick Butkus, boy, by just watching him walk, in post-retirement, watching him walk while he was playing was difficult. Because he had no knee at all.
I want to leave you with this thought. One of my inspirations for writing this book was I had gone to the Hall of Fame a few years ago, and on Friday they have an event for all the returning Hall of Famers. And in the front row was Earl Campbell in a wheelchair, Paul Hornig, who had to have an aide with him, Gail Sayers, who had dementia at the time and passed away a few years later, and Paul Hornig has passed away. Tony Dorsett, who's really struggled with memory loss, and it was all the running backs kind of standing together. And it just it really hit me because they all pretty much played, in the same era.
Yeah.
And it really got me thinking about how can this become a book.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was the picture I'm trying to describe was really sad. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Such greatness standing together and sitting together, and all of them struggling the way they were.
And yet, Gary, I bet you anything, and you could probably attest to this, none of them would change a thing. It's an amazing thing, the adrenaline rush or whatever it is that needs to take that kind of punishment. They'd never give it up. But the book's called Once a Giant. Everybody check it out. It's going to be a great Christmas gift no matter who you root for. The great Gary Myers. Thank you very much, Gary, for joining me. We'll talk to you again next week. All right.
Sounds great, Pat. Thanks a lot.
All right. Gary Myers joining me. That'll do it for this week in pro football. I apologize, Xander. I kept you too late, but I hope you all enjoyed it. Please give me a follow at TWIPF Pat. Follow the network at JAKIB Sports. And let's see how this plays out. Philadelphia and Miami Sunday night should be a great game. Check it out. We'll talk to you next week on This Week in Pro Football, presented by Kennedy Ford.